And the big difference is that by a directive, the member states in the EU had the power to make changes applicable to their own territory. So you had the Italian directive and the French directive and the Belgian directive and so forth. What happens with the regulation is that it's one law for Europe. The member states cannot touch it. So it's basically a federal law. This is a big change for Europe. So there is no kind of a transposition, and there is no chance for the member states to add requirements. So the cosmetic product, you have here a definition, can be a single substance or a mixture intended to be placed in contact with external parts of the human body with a view of perfuming them, cleaning them, changing appearance, and so forth. So it cannot heal, treat. The word treatment is something that the EU is very allergic to, so don't use the word treatment for a cosmetic. And to perfume is clearly a cosmetic, a soap is clearly a cosmetic. So any product which is doing this is a cosmetic product. Any product which is not falling within this scope is not a cosmetic product. So all sorts of products which are aimed to heal or treat a condition is out of the scope. And the big word, the big sentence here is keeping them in good condition, which means that they were in good condition to begin with. So you cannot do anything as a cosmetic that will do anything else than that. Whenever you would like to make your list of products, there are three elements that you have to consider: the commercial name, the formula, and the intent of use. Any change to one of those three means a new product. So if you change the commercial name, it's a new product. If you change the formula, it's a new product. If you change the function, it's a new product. So if you had the foot cream and now you would like to claim that it's a hand and foot cream, it's a different product. Okay, so you have to think about these three elements whenever you would like to make your list of products. So I gave you here a small example. The commercial name, Nivea shampoo for you. The formula, and what is the product doing is the claim. The definition of manufacture. In the law, it says any natural or legal person who manufactures a cosmetic product or has such a product designed or manufactured and markets that cosmetic product under his name or trademark. So you don't have to be the one actually making it. Doesn't matter. If somebody else makes it for you, that's absolutely fine. But if you sell it and you place it on the market under your name, you are the legal manufacturer and all the rules apply to you. An entity becomes the manufacturer in two cases. One, it places a product on the market under his name or trademark. Or two, it changes a product. We see in our business a lot of EU distributors that say, in my market, if I change a little bit the product, so let's say that, again, a foot cream, but in my market it's better to sell it as a hand foot cream, and they change the label, it's a new product. And they are not only a distributor, they become the manufacturer of the new product by accident. They didn't want to do it, but they are, because they changed the product. So it's very important that any change to the name, claim, composition makes this a new product, and you are now the legal manufacturer of the new product. So if you don't want to be the manufacturer, don't touch the product. Responsible person. So this is a European invention which came in the 1970s, so it's not new, it's something very old. And when they published the new law, they said when we wrote back in the 70s, we meant this. So now we made it clear. So responsible person must be established in Europe. He must be designated to ensure the compliance of the product, and he must have regulatory, scientific, and legal competences to be a responsible person. We will go deeper into that person a bit later on. Safety assessment is a critical component in EU regulations. It is not a test, it is a mathematical calculation to calculate the margin of safety. How safe is this product? The safety assessor must take all the safety information and to calculate the margin of safety. So it is an evaluation, it is not a test. And the safety assessor, there is a very specific profile that we will go into it a bit later on who can be a safety assessor. Product information file, or PIF as we call it, is the set of technical documentation that any product in the EU must have. So it is not per type, any cosmetic product, that's why they call it product information file, because it is per product. So every product needs to have it. The CPNP is the EU portal. So the name is the Cosmetic Product Notification Portal. So it's an online database that every product has to be notified before it goes into the market. So you simply upload, you inform the European authorities of your intention to go to market. But this act really means three things. One, I am a responsible person, so that's why only responsible persons are able to notify to the portal. Two, the product information file is at my address in Europe if you would like to come and see it. And three, from this moment on, the brand owner, the manufacturer, has the intention to go to market. Whether you go or not is your problem, but the door is now open for you. So from that moment, the European authorities can start asking questions. Now, as we call it, notification, it means that you notify them, they don't answer. So the principle is safety, and I give this type of lectures all over the world. Already 10 minutes? Cool, I forgot fast. And everybody is thinking, this law is aimed to prevent import to Europe and to block and so forth. This is a European law on European companies. First, you, non-EU, are a side product of it. So they don't care about you in that sense. They made the law for Europe. So whenever you like to buy from a European, you need to know he has to do this before he can even think of selling to Europe. So the whole point here is safety. And I met a US president of an association that was, hey, these rules are stupid. Who dies of a cosmetic? What do you need this for? It's stupid. In the US, you can take acid, you put on it perfume, you sell it. If nobody sues you, it's good. In Europe, they have a bit of a different approach to it. And I told them after 20 minutes, can I say something? Yes. How many people died of cancer? Only in the US. Europe is the only market that went into carcinogenic substances while you people are killing each other and eating like I don't know what. So don't tell me that this does not make sense. It does make sense. The compliance with it is evidently before you go to market. So you first of all, you have to apply all those requirements, and only then you are able to sell. And that's why the EU tells you, I will check you when you're in the market, not before. And when I check you, I expect that you did everything. You cannot tell me, I didn't do the safety assessment. No, that's not an option. You have to have it before. You can ask in Hebrew, in Chinese even.
ברגע שאתה רשום ב-CPNP, זה אומר שאתה כבר approved?
So, there is no approval in Europe. It is your responsibility to prove that you did what the law asked you. When you notify, you simply tell them, I am ready. You can come and check me. And they assume that you did everything. So, big.
ואם יש רישיונות עכשיו זה לא, אני לא...
For Europe, there is no such thing
אני
as a
מדבר על
license.
הארץ.
I'm talking about Europe. So, let's go now into the main requirements. As we said, first of all, the first thing to do is to have somebody agree to be a responsible person for your product. He is taking on himself the entire responsibility of the compliance. Why? The law is saying, responsible persons shall ensure compliance. So, there is an obligation to have an EURP linked to the product. He must be established in the EU, and he has to make sure that everything was done. So somebody has to agree to put his head on your behalf. What does it mean? In the Article 5.1 of the law tells you everything that the responsible person is responsible for, which is everything. So, if you have a doubt, it's everything. Second step is the safety assessment. So, a safety assessment is per product, once again. A safety assessor must have a position of a diploma in pharmacy, toxicology, medicine, or a similar discipline. It doesn't have to be one of those, but something similar. But it has to be from an EU university. To be able to do a safety assessment for Europe, the safety assessor must possess an EU university diploma. Or to have a member state recognize his degree as equivalent. This is a process that you have to follow. If you do not have it, you cannot be a safety assessor for Europe. Product information file. So the safety assessment is part of the product information file. It is a critical element, as you can see in point number 2. The CPSR is made up of 2 elements, the safety information and the safety assessment. Safety assessment is part B of the CPSR. Part A is the safety information. This is the structure of the product information file. So you have here all the main elements that any product should have in a product information file. So the PIF is the proof of everything that you have done according to the law. Everything that you claim must have proof. The European authority is saying, if you don't have proof, don't claim it. So, evidently there are claims which you don't need to have proof, like this kind of hyperboles that the shampoo will make you a real man. That's fine. You can claim that if you like. But anything that has a specific function and you want to claim it, you need to have proof, which is scientific literature, clinical testing, etc. If you don't want to do those things, don't claim. You have here a small example of claims that you can or cannot use. So it's pretty clear. One of the things that I would like to stop on is the little bunny. Everybody loves the bunny, put the bunny on it. And it is not allowed. Very good question. So, first of all, if you're claiming not tested on animals, not only you, but your suppliers and their suppliers and their suppliers, you need to have proof in your product information file that nobody did animal testing. It is impossible. I've been in this business for the last 13 years. I have never seen it once. Impossible. 1. 2, it is legally required in Europe not to test on animals. So the EU is saying you cannot claim something which is legally required on everybody. So whenever they see the bunny, this is the first people that they're going to check, because they know that they're going to have fun. So take the bunny off if you don't want to be checked. Nanomaterials is a new technology that the EU for the first time put into the law. It's very small particles. I can tell you that in the last 13 years that I've manage those type of PIFs. I've never seen a single product with it. for the simple reason that it makes the product extremely unstable. So it's not worth it. Perhaps once time will pass and they will be able to make it a bit more stable, things will change. But basically, if you do have nanomaterials, you have to do an additional notification to the CPNP at least 6 months before you go to market. So this is another process that you have to run. So we talked about this process, but the beauty of it is that there's a single notification for Europe. It used to be before 2013, we had to notify country by country. It was hell on you, it was a hell on us. It was hell for everybody. So now they change it and you have a single entry you only do to the portal, and that's it, and you cover the entire EU. So who has access to it? Evidently responsible persons. Distributors have access, but only to the translated label that they have to upload to the product. In many cases, we see that the distributor is telling to the manufacturer, you take care of it, and I'm not going to waste my time on this. So either it's ready, if it's ready, I'm buying, if it's not ready, I'm not buying. So that's then the responsible person has to do from the manufacturer. And evidently the competent authorities and the toxic centers, so all the member states have access to the CPNP portal. And it's very important that we realize the CPNP is not an approval. Today, if you want, you can upload horses. I tried. You can put horse as a product type, it will let you. So it is just a database. It is not an approval of any sort. But it is legally required to notify to the CPNP before you sell. I cannot tell you how many times we had products of customers to be that got stuck at customs because they did not upload to the CPNP. And even if they did, the label is 99% of the problems. Cosmetovigilance. So whenever something like this happens, everybody has the responsibility to inform the other. Responsible persons, distributors, competent authorities. So this is something that everybody has to inform the others. And I can tell you the moment that a single authority is aware, the other 27 the next day know about it as well. So you should not hide it. Whenever something happens, I can tell there is no such thing as a 100% safe product. It does not exist. So whenever you have an incident, it doesn't mean the product is bad. It means that somebody had an allergic reaction to it, which is completely normal. So don't hide things, inform whenever something happens. So the timeline, I like to call it between half a baby to a full baby, between 4 months to 8 months. And I will guide you through the steps. So the first step is evidently somebody has to be a responsible person, and the law says that they would like to see a mandate, a signed contract between the manufacturer and the EU entity that accepted the mandate. This should take between 1 to 2 weeks. It should not take long. Step 2, there are many players in our sandbox. The responsible person, the laboratory, the safety assessor, the importer, the manufacturer, everybody is pushing to different places. So what we call the setup, we all have to agree who is doing what, and we are all going this way. So this should also take 1 to 2 weeks. The longest or the most or the heaviest part of it is the product information file, and we put here on average within 3 to 6 months, because there are certain things within the product information file that simply take time. Testing, stability testing, challenge test. These are things that take time. Stability testing, if you don't have it, takes 90 days by the protocol. There's nothing you can do about it. You have to run the test. Challenge test, 28 days. You have to run the test. So, but there are certain products that don't need to be tested. So let's say that you don't have water in your product, there's no need to do a challenge test. So that's why we put here between 3 to 6 months, depending on how much information you have. Step 4, it is to upload to the CPNP. So you simply have to upload certain information to the CPNP portal. By the way, the CPNP portal is not accessible to the public. They cannot see information on it. Only the European authorities can see it. And as there is no approval, the next day you can go to market. There's nothing that you have to wait for. After you're notified, you are officially, you have access to Europe. So the speed of the process evidently has several factors that will make a difference. One is your responsible person. Is he really a responsible person? I would say agency. Somebody that this is what they do, that this is a profession. Same thing is when you are sick, you don't go to your cousin to be treated, you go to a doctor. Same thing here. How fast can your suppliers give you information? Specifications of your ingredients, testing, and so forth. And GMP. So, do you have GMP or not? This is a critical element that will make a difference. Summary, last slide, this is the law. We went through the definitions. The principle is safety. The compliance is before you go to market, and you must have a responsible person, safety assessor, product information file, notification, and to have somebody that will take care of your cosmetic vigilance all the time. Yes, sir.
בקשר ל-PIF רק, אתה לא הזכרת, אתה מזכיר רק safety, אני מדבר על תכולת ה-PIF. אני חושב שיש שם וייעוד, אבל חוץ מזה יש עניין גם של עניינים טכניים כמו הוכחת יעילות, משמר, יציבות, דברים מהסוג הזה. אני לא ראיתי.
Effect claim, labeling, GMP, method of manufacturer, safety information.
אני עדיין לא ראיתי, מי שראה את זה, שיגיד איפה?
The testing is in the safety information. So that's where you will see it.
I have to go inside the safety information.
Exactly. So that's in part A.
Okay.
So the safety assessment is done based on the safety information, which is the testing, the specification, and so forth.
There are guidelines for stability testing or guidelines?
There are protocols to be used, absolutely. Yes.
It's in the regulation?
No. You can have it on our website if you like.
מבחינת שינוי מוצר, אתה אמרת ששינויים מסוימים גורמים בעצם שינוי מוצר לקליים חדש. החומר הסופי לצורך העניין משנה אריזה אחרת. אפילו מדבקה על האריזה אחרת, או הדפסה אחרת. זה different claim? זה קליים חדש?
לא. If you don't change the commercial name, and you don't change the formula, and you don't change the claim, it's not a new product. If you change the container, you have to update your product information file. So why? If you change from plastic to glass, it will have an impact on the safety. Okay, but you don't have to retest everything, most likely. But you have to update your PIF. But it's not a new product. Only if you change the name, the function, or the formula, then it is a new product.
הם לא יכולים להגיד שאז התגובה בין מה ששמתי בפנים לבין האריזה אולי תשתנה, ואז תתחיל עוד פעם את כל הזה.
They can. So
It might.
Absolutely. Good. Thank you very much. תודה רבה.